Hi everyone, I'm Anna Finch. Welcome back to my channel. So today's live stream will probably go for about an hour as I am cooking barbecue for lunch today for my family. And because I'm smoking it, I can't really do a stream longer than an hour because it takes about an hour to set everything up and cook and start smoking. Yeah, so with today's sprints, I'm currently working on an activity book for as like a companion for my new release, Hide and Seek Alphabet. So I'm basically doing like a companion activity book because, well, Christmas is coming up, and also because I got invited to do another live author event by the same company I was doing, or the same football club that I did my first in-person author event at the community festival near me. I basically got asked if I was interested in doing the same market stall in a different area. And now it's for Christmas carols, and it's in December. So having an activity book as something else I could put on my market stall will help. And also it will probably be like the children's picture book. Like this is printed in color, so I have to charge like $20, okay, Australian, pretty much $21.99. So I've got to charge that much for a children's picture book. It's the average price. I can't really go below that. But with an activity book, because the interior is black and white and the exterior is, well, the cover is color, but the interior is all black and white, it means that it will cost less to print because there's no need for colored ink. It will cost less. For some reason, the screen went black. But yeah, so a picture book, I have to sell for about roughly $25, depending on whether it's print, hardcover, stuff like that. But with an activity book, I can sell it for maybe $5 or $10. I can sell it for half the price because maybe some people have came to my stall and they're like, no, I don't have that much money on me. So having something cheaper that they could buy that is for kids, considering the this in-person author event is going to be at a children's primary school, and it is for Christmas celebration stuff, so that might help. And yeah, so I'm currently doing design. I've got an initial sketch of what the page looks like. I've got to work out what else is going to be on each page, and I've also got to contact the illustrator to get these small images done, because like the tracing bits I can get designed somewhere else, and just, yeah. All right, so let's get started. Share screen. Oops. There. Let's start with a 15-minute writing sprint. Okay. So I have only done the first 4 pages of the activity book, or at least hand through the first 4 pages. So I'm currently still on the letter A. So I'm basically just trying to get a rough design, because once I've got a rough design, then I can pretty much just contact the illustrator and just get the pictures, a small picture, done for each of the animals, and then I should be able to do the other pages myself, hopefully. Yeah, I would like, because I'm only just getting I would rather just get the little images drawn and I put it on the page myself that I've set up. That way, if I want to use the same sort of images, then I can, and I won't need to contact them for it again. Anyway, I'm pretty much only just going to do alphabet ones. The activity book, this probably will be my only one. I may do a colouring one only. Just depends. Anyway. Hi, welcome. So we've just finished the first writing sprint. I'm about to do the second. At the moment, I am basically just designing an activity book. I'm doing it by hand. That way I know what layouts I need and what sort of images I need from an illustrator. I'm probably just going to contact the same illustrator that did my Australian animals picture book, because she would already have the designs there. She would just need to remove the colors from them. Anyway, what are you working on? We're probably going to do the second sprint for 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm probably just doing 15-minute writing sprints throughout. It really depends. And it gives me a bit of a break, and it gives my hand a bit of a break from drawing and designing by hand, which if I do it for too long, my hand goes a bit numb. But anyway, cool. So we can start the second sprint. I'm going to put 15 minutes on the timer. That's a nice and easy sprint. I'll be working on the sequel to my Arthurian book for prep for Nano. That's awesome. I'm going to be doing Nano as well, but I'll be doing a sequel to my first published book. I've got that stuff prepped because I have been trying to work on it for the past 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, so getting that done. I'm just doing the children's book because I'm doing another in-person author event, but this time at a primary school, closer to Christmas. So I'd rather have something that they can do for fun as well. All right. All right, let's make a start. Okay, so that was the second sprint. 137 words. Cool. Well, because I'll show you. Because I'm actually doing like a storyboard. Basically, I'm setting out an entire activity book. I know I've got less than 100 words, but I did two and a half pages of the activity book. I've got another 50 to go. So it's taking me a long time to actually do it. But congrats on your 137 words. Yeah, so I'll probably end up doing one more sprint, one more 15-minute sprint. It's much harder to visually design a storyboard than to just type on a screen. Yeah, it is. I'll show you. I did one full page before I started doing the live stream. I did one full spread. I don't know if you can see it in big. So I knew what I wanted to look like overall, and whether or not it was possible. But yeah, it's actually not a mouse. It's a possum. It's a honey possum. It looks like it's a honey possum. So it's a native Australian animal. It looks like a mouse. When my mum saw it, she thought it was a mouse. Like, why are you putting a mouse in the book? But it's actually a possum. So they're very tiny. They're probably that big. So they're the same size as a mouse. They've just got a very long tail. The tail is actually longer than their entire body. But they're, yeah. Yeah, so I'm surprised it turned out as well as it did. I mean, I've got the picture book that I published a week ago. Yeah, last week. Yeah, so I published the picture book a week ago last week. A week ago. So I've got a rough image. I've got an image that I can use as a guide. Yeah. Australia is too cute for an American possum. Yeah. There's like so many different types of possums in Australia. They're not ugly that I know of, but they can be annoying. Some of them are very annoying, especially if you live in the bush. Thank you. Yeah, this is actually my second book. It's my first children's picture book, the one that came out last week. So, yeah, I'm doing an activity book as a companion, like text, because Christmas is coming up. And I'm also doing the author event at a primary school. And generally speaking, colouring and such, tracing books are cheaper than picture books. So it's something a bit more affordable for some families as well. But yeah, it's good publishing it. I initially was going to do the drawings myself for the picture book, but just drawing the picture with a budgie, just 2-page spread, took me nearly an hour just to do a rough sketch. Doing a rough sketch for this in like a big piece took me a good 30-40 minutes. Obviously this is just like a rough sketch stage, so once I get the images, I can use templates for pretty much everything and do the stuff myself. So It's a great plan for building a backlog and increasing sales by having the accompanying activity book. Yeah, that's basically the plan. And also because my children's picture book, the one that came out, is basically Australian animals as well, but it repeats sounds to do with phonetics. So they're repeating the same sounds as they go through it. And they're learning the alphabet and the different sounds that go with that. So having an activity book that does something that extends that same skill to writing is helpful. I don't know if I'll do any number ones. I don't know if I do any number books, because it really depends. I may, depending on how the images I get from the illustrator turn out. But probably no number books. But alphabet books can work. I may do something. I may end up doing like a series of alphabet books, hide and seek alphabet books with different animals from different places. But that's a long way away. Thank you. I'm too wordy to write children's books. You're the definition of succinct. I'm pretty weird when it comes to writing. So before I did my novel or this children's book, I wrote poetry. I didn't publish any, unless you count fanfic poetry from like Naruto. But yeah, I've wrote poetry, but I didn't publish any of it. I entered it into competitions and stuff, but no fully published poetry books. So I can write small. It's weird with writing. So with things that are meant to be short, I overwrite. With things like my novel that are meant to be long, I underwrite because I'm like, I just want to get it done. So it depends. So pretty much like in high school, all my short stories, which were in my teacher's mind were supposed to be maybe less than 1,000 words, maybe 2 pages max. Yeah, they were like 5,000 plus. So yeah, so anything that is meant to be short, I generally overwrite because I'm used to writing longer texts. Anything that's meant to be long, I underwrite and I have to go back and add a whole bunch of words. Like with my novel that I published, I underwrote it by like 40,000 words. So when I did the initial draft and edited and sent it out for developmental editing, I had to add an extra 40,000 words to the overall story, which is a pain. I would indeed count fanfic poetry as poetry. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Like the last time I did that, I was maybe 15 when I wrote fanfic poetry. Like that was a while. Yeah, for a short story, it is a lot. I'm just lucky my teachers liked me and they didn't mind reading my very long short stories. Yes, and it helped that I got good marks for it when I did literature. Yeah, it is a lot to add. It was a massive amount. A lot of it was like to do with build up and development of the relationship between the characters. Yeah. I actually didn't intend to have any romance in my novel at all. It was basically meant to be a friendship story. But when my brother read it, he's like, they're in love with each other. I'm like, what? So I had to go back and rewrite, so add some stuff for it to be romantic because I'm like, really? Okay. And because I changed that, I had to then add bits in between to show how that romance developed. And romance isn't my thing or area. And honestly, it was like minor subplot. The more important bit was to do with her development in, but adding that backstory and that build up for romance dragged me. It dragged on. It took me forever. Romance is not my thing. I'm like, I just meant it as a friendship. I mean, a very codependent friendship with characters that have issues, but didn't have to be romantic, or it looked like a romance. Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't normally write romance. I don't normally like writing romance. I'm surprised I did it well enough that I got an award recently for romance in YA, even though that wasn't the main plot point. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that. But yeah, it's weird. Then I mean, the story doing the sequel does have romance, but it's more the character realizing, nah, I don't need this. Thank you. It was a massive surprise actually when it said what winner for YA romance. I'm like, really? But I'm happy with it. I'm pleased. Pleased that it's doing well. Have you published anything? Do you intend to publish in the future? I self-pubbed my first book at 17. That's awesome. Congrats. Okay. It's still an achievement. But yeah. Why was it a mistake? Currently querying my first Arthurian, and as the trad pub industry is much better suited to someone as lazy at marketing as me. Yeah. I would like to do trad pub, but the sort of stuff I write, the stuff I like to write, is generally not something that would be selected for trad pub, because there are a number, like Voiceless, for example, there are a number of Little Mermaid retellings that are trad pubbed, that they've got enough and they're like, oh, we'll just focus on those. And same with the children's picture book for the animal one. Yeah. Be smarter to trad pub, but if I don't get picked up by an agent, I'll probably end up finishing the series and doing a rapid release in self pub. I can market anything for 6 months. It's the endlessness of the marketing. Oh, I don't want to get stuck in. Yeah, I don't like marketing, or at least I find it hard to do the marketing. And it's very repetitive and it has to be constant. You take a break in marketing or advertising, and you basically start from scratch again when it comes to getting an audience. The problem with self-publishing when it comes to marketing is, well, if you don't have a backlog of books, then it's harder to market. Yeah. So it's hard to market if you don't have a backlog of books. So I've only got one novel, and what works better with self-publishing, if you've got a number of novels, you can do box sets. You can advertise like 4 in a row, or if it's a complete series, you can advertise the complete series and get everyone to go through and buy all of them. But I don't. I've only got one novel. I've got one picture book. I've got another picture book coming out in March, and hopefully an activity book. So I'm hopefully for the children's books, I will have at least a bit of a backlog. But for the YA stuff, I don't at the moment, and I probably won't until maybe end of next year. But for the children's authors, self-pub tends to be smarter. It's out there. Yeah. That's why. And with self-publishing a children's book, you can get more royalties self-publishing than you would get with an agent or with a trad pub. Not so much with like novels, because novels generally you sell more ebooks than paper copies, but with children's books, because you sell more physical copies, you can get more royalties from that. Yeah, backlog's pretty much everything when it comes to self-publishing. It's annoying, but hopefully now I've already got 2 out, and I will have 2 picture books out by March and maybe an activity book. I can start doing some backlog stuff or doing advertising for like buy this and get this for it kind of thing, so that I can do more advertising. So they buy one, they like it, they buy the next one. I can do that with the children's books. I can't yet with the novels, which sucks, but I've only got myself to blame. I've just stuck on writing when it comes to the sequel. Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I hope everything goes well with querying. I think there's like services on like Fiverr and stuff that can look over what you write for your queries, and basically like help edit it so it nails it. Took me 7 years to do the sequel to my first book. Yeah, I know. I know. Like, this is the second year. Like, my first novel came out 2 years ago, and the sequel, I'm still writing it. I don't want to be in that situation where it's like 7 years and I still haven't done the sequel. So I'm going to force myself to get through it this NaNoWriMo. They are very rough to get through, especially considering with when it comes to novels, like if it's a series, what may happen is a person may read the first book, get really engaged, and if the second one doesn't come out for 5+ years, they're like, I can't be bothered going back and read. I would have to go back and reread the first one, and they're like, can't be bothered. I'll wait for them to finish the series before I even go back to it, which kind of happened with me. The Power of 5 series by Anthony Horowitz, which I read in high school. So I was like year 9, year 10. And I found the first one, loved it. Went and grabbed the second one, the third one in the series. The fourth one I had to wait a bit. And then I got through the first 4. I think it was the first 4. Or maybe the first 3. I had to wait a year for the fourth one, which I was fine to do. But the last one in the series, I was waiting a year, 2 years. I'm like, what the hell happened? I think it came out like 4 years after the fourth book. And I'm like, and I looked at the size of the last one, and it's like massive. I'm talking like 600+ pages. And this is just a normal size paperback. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go back to it. I'll have to reread the entire series. and then get to that one, which is massive. I'm just like, no, it's massive, and I can't go through. I'm like, I was in uni when it came out. Exactly why if I don't get picked up, I'll have to save it and rapid pub. Yeah, pretty much. Like if you space it out, if you do the rapid publishing and you space it out, you can space it out over years. You can space it out over 6 months, or you can, depending on how many's in the series, you could do one a month. It really depends. It's been so long since I've finished A Song of Ice and Fire. I probably won't buy the next book. Says George R.R. Martin. Still hasn't finished it. I'm assuming that's George R.R. Martin. Yeah. That's kind of why, like with my first novel, Voiceless, I could have actually done that as 2 novels. And I could have actually split it into 2 novels, with the first one like leading up to the person finally deciding what they need to, and then second one is the revolution. But I didn't want the battle stuff to drag on too much, which is what would happen if I had split it into 2 novels. It would have dragged on too much, and the meaning or what I was trying to get through with my book wouldn't have gotten across as effectively, because the point isn't the revolution. The point is making your own choices. So yeah, so I went with one, and I didn't want to have one small one and then massive one at the end, because like you might go through, you pick the first one, you're like, oh, this is decent size, I can read through that, I can get through that, and the next one is massive, like a dictionary, and you're like, and there are some readers who don't read those length books, and you lose an audience. So yeah, kind of sucks. The way you describe your book reminds me of The Poppy War. Huge book, probably should have been 2 books, but thematically had to be 1. Yeah. My first novel was only about 90,000 words, so it's about 300 pages. So it's not that long. Yeah, it should have been 2, but I'm like, it doesn't make sense for what I was trying to get across. So I left it as 1, and it works. It may have been a bit better if it was 2, but I don't like cliffhangers. I personally don't like cliffhangers at the end of a story. I don't like cliffhangers, so, and I would have had to end on a cliffhanger to split it into 2, and I don't like that. I didn't like it with these Violent Delights, because I read These Violent Delights. I loved it. Got to the end, cliffhanger. I'm like, I have to wait a whole year to find out what happens next. Yeah. Yeah, 90K is not that bad. It's a fairly short YA book. It depends with me. Like in books, I don't like them because there's usually a gap between book 1, book 2. In TV series, I don't mind it, because especially if it's like a big TV series, it ends on a cliffhanger, and you know the next one comes out, the next episode comes out next week. It's not that long of a wait. And with TV shows, it gets me hooked in to want to watch the next one, because watching a TV show, an episode at a time or whatever, doesn't take me as long. I mean, I'm a fast reader, but if I'm not into what happens next, I just stop reading, or I just skip to the end to find out what happens. It depends on the medium. So audiobook, which I listen to Sandman, audiobook TV series, yeah, especially if there's another one already released. But with books, I'm like, I don't like cliffhangers because of the generally long wait between releases. Okay. Let's do, this is probably our last sprint, the third sprint. I'm going to put 15 minutes. I'm actually doing a live writing sprint Tuesday. This is Australian time. So Tuesday, 11 a.m. Australian time. So it's Melbourne Cup Day, which means it's a public holiday, which means I don't have to teach my students on that day. It's the 1st of November, so I'm at least here in Australia when it happens. It might be night time on the 31st for you guys. For you, yeah, so I'm doing that. Yeah, let's see how much we can get. Okay, that was our last one. That was our last sprint. I have finished 3 of the storyboard pages. I'm up to the letter D. So I'm up to D for dingo. How'd you go with this sprint? That's awesome. Hi, those of you who just joined us. Cool. All right. Well, that was the last sprint. I've actually got to go cook lunch for everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'll be doing the live sprint, another one on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Australian time as well. Thank you for hosting. I managed to keep my streak in for the words, and I really appreciate that. You're welcome. I hope you have a nice day as well. And I'll hope to see you in some of my other live streams, because I generally do at least one a week. You too. See ya. All right. I hope everyone stays safe, and I will hopefully see you in another stream. Bye.